Vision. What was it called? The event?
Dance Vision.
Dance
Yes.
Vision.
So when we're talking about music, one of the patterns that I've recognized in the places that I've been fortunate enough to travel to is, with the exception of one place, everywhere else basically used a popping playlist that was interspersed with hip hop Eurobeats, right? Or Euro hip hop, however you want to describe that. And I think we saw, this is the kind of music that we saw for the finals
Yes.
at Dance Vision.
Right. Animation.
Yes, specifically the moment when, for Christo's final, moment in the final.
Yes.
Right? That whole like breakdown, I think if you considered it, like, yes, you can pop to that, but also that tends to be a popular song among hip hop circles, like hip hop dance circles. Specifically those who are dancing to hip hop from the perspective of a more modern, not an old school perspective. These are new beats. These tend to be focused on like loops and like production in like the modern
instrumentals.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking about Tribe Called Quest. We're talking about like beat pads and those kinds of things. And so this kind of perspective of like hip hop beats is often used interchangeably for animation music abroad, to such an extent that, and for good reason, because when I went to Summer Dance Forever last year, I did enter the popping, and I was so inspired by the hip hop playlist that the DJs used that I was like, maybe I should quit, quote unquote, being a popper and sign up for hip hop stuff, because their music actually makes me want to dance and animate more along the lines of how I naturally want to dance through my styles than popping music does. I actively am, when I'm dancing to popping music, I feel like I'm so confined by the frequency as far as like how often I need to be hitting. I feel like I'm so confined by that I lose some of the essence of what I actually want to do.
What you want to do.
What I really like, how I really actually want to express. So in that way, it feels like I'm fighting the track when I'm getting like a popping song. Now this isn't all popping music, but in general, right? I have tasted the water from the top of the mountain, like I have danced in animation ciphers with music that has made me feel giddy and just like excited to explore and be like, oh, how curious, like what a crazy song, like it does all these things in it, and I want to explore that through my movement. And it's like I've had that kind of engaging experience, and I feel like excited when I hear a song like that. And then I get a popping song in a battle, and I'm like, oh, it's this. And it's like, all right, we're doing this. And that's fine. It's fine for what it is, because it wasn't designed with the purposes that I'm trying to use it for. It was designed with different purposes in mind. Right? It was designed to show off the hit, the principle of popping. So that's why I think there's a huge push to show whatever principle that we are showcasing in animation to be reflected in the music we choose to dance to.
Wow.
And that's why, if you don't have a specific or succinct definition of what animation is, your ability to determine what kind of music that will be inhibited. You won't know how to do that. If your definition is just anything that's not boogaloo, it's like, all right, here comes
whacking Wovogan.
Well, I mean, you've got like funk, right? But I'm like really talking about like math rock. We want to do music that's in 7/13 time signature. Like it's like, oh, okay, like, yes, I guess you can do that, right? And that plays with time. That plays with timing,
Right.
right? And you can very well do this.
Mm.
So like these are just other options.
Mm.
And so you don't know if that's going to fit in your definition of animation, or that you don't know if that's going to fit in your expression of animation if you don't know what animation actually is for you.
Right.
And so that's why I say, regardless of whether you like certain songs, you like certain artists, you like dancing to this, you like dancing to that, understanding your own definition of animation is fundamental to solving just about any other problem or any other issue in the animation community.
Right, for it to grow.
And music is one of them.
So we talked about the movement,
Yeah.
the schools of thought, what
Uh-huh.
ties all the movements, what is the common
Yeah.
thread, the music, what's tying that all together.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say something, and then I want to hear your thoughts if that's animation or not.
Yes.
We're gonna say a game.
Okay.
I would say it, and then does this fit into the school of
Let's
thought?
do it. Let's do it.
Okay. I'm waving.
Okay.
Am I animating? Am I an animator?
From the perspective of time-based illusion, until you play with the illusion of time through that form, no.
Okay. Once I go like, ooh.
The context of that, yes. So seeing those two things together is what makes it animation. Had you started at that tempo and you did an entire round of nothing but that, to me, that's not animation. Because the time isn't changing. That's just the default timing for that particular kind of expression. There is no interchange of any kind of illusion or time that is occurring there.
Okay. A crumper gives a round. Boom, 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 boom. Are they animated?
Well, they're using speed control in those ways.
Okay.
It depends on how much of their round is that, right? And how cleanly they can execute. Because there's a difference to like just throwing a jab. My jabs are terrible. I'm sorry, guys. I do not train crump that much. And so the concept of whether that's animation or not is similar to the idea of whether you have like a chocolate milkshake with cherry on top or a chocolate milkshake with cherry mixed all the way through, right? If you're using the illusion of time all the way through your crump, then 100% absolutely it's not just crump, it's also animation. The two are together. But if it's crump and then for a little bit you throw a little bit of animation, then for that one section you are doing animation in your crump.
Got it.
But as a whole,
and you let go of it.
That work, that moment, that round, whatever it is, right, is simply crump with this element in it.
Okay.
It's not an even mixture. It's not a collaboration. It is a brief showcase of something else.
Okay. Which we see a lot of styles that they'll, again, back into entering an animation event, you'll see different styles and they'll take parts of, for a short amount of time, they will show speed control or such, but then go back into their style.
Yeah.
That's what we see.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I saw this at Summer Dance Forever. I saw more animated technique in every other category than popping. House Dance Forever had more animation in 2023, from what I saw. Locking Forever had more animation than Popping Forever.
Interesting.
Whacking Forever definitely had it. There were multiple moments where people started using like ta 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 ta, or started breaking down their hand motions in that way, right? And that's becoming a popular blow up, at least from what I understand. I'm not like super in that community, but I've seen it a couple of times, and if I've seen it a couple of times,
someone has.
It's probably become a thing at this point. And so all of that, because it's rooted in this principle of the illusion of time, showcasing the illusion of time, dancing with the illusion of time, all of that is animation. Now, whether the entire round is animation or not is a different story. That's how you, in order to make it, for me, in order to make it animation, it's just doing whatever you're going to do with that principle. Just like how when popping was considered an umbrella term, everyone was like, in this particular era or in this school of thought within popping, where popping is an umbrella term that incorporates all these other substyles, the consensus was, yeah, it's cool. Do whatever you want. Just hit. Just hit with how you're doing it.
Interesting.
And so then whatever you did was popping, as long as you did enough of it. Okay. If you went off down a road and you strayed so far from the pop and you never went back to it,
right,
you've transitioned away and you stopped actively popping. To me, animation is the same way. You can animate anything.
Tut, wave.
Yes, absolutely.
Glides.
Right. It's a how, not a what, which gives you the freedom to do whatever you want. But how you do it is the principle that makes it easily identifiable as animation. So if you want to do an animation round, that is the principle that must be upheld first and foremost. And if you leave, that's fine. Just come back. Within a reasonable amount of time.
Who's staying close? Interesting. Okay. I'm robot. I'm doing the robot. When does this become animation? When I start to, again, has to mess with the manipulation of time. So okay, right. It's because interesting, because question, if somebody is being a malfunctioning robot,
yes,
could their round being a malfunctioning robot count as an animation?
Absolutely. The concept of glitching is one of the very first visceral experiences of the illusion of time through that character, right? What is a glitch? How do you define a glitch? It's typically just an experience of something that is out of context from what was expected, right? Usually you can get more technical from that, but effectively it's something that like repeats. The context is the character is that it is something that is not human attempting to resemble a human, but expressly not accurately enough. It's intentionally not accurate. It is intentionally not a perfect facsimile, not a perfect copy of a human being, right? Because you could have, like, a lot of modern day robots aren't as fun to imitate, because once the actuators get there, then they just kind of like you'll see the shaman at Disneyland, right? The avatar shaman at Disneyland has so many actuators that they look a little too natural. If I started doing this, I wouldn't look like I was giving the expression of a robot. I would look like I would be giving a rather graceful oration, right? I would look like I would be talking, maybe conducting a thing, right, based on my gestures. I mean, you can tell that it's a robot because the acceleration of all of the parts never exceed certain degrees, certain levels. So the time, even though things slow down and speed up, they never break. There's never a sudden movement into a slow movement.
Once you start breaking from that.
Yeah, once there's sudden movement involved, like, the consistency of the character is one of the only ways that you can recognize that character is even a robot. A lot of people miss it. A lot of people miss that it's even an animatronic. And so, like, that's the idea, right? Is if you are typically looking to express an animated robot, you would use glitches. You would use an old school kind of robot. You would use anything that repeats. You would use anything that, like, skips a frame. You would do anything that would create, like, a shock or like anything that's like jolting from place, because the timing in and or out of a particular movement is like messed up somehow, right? Or like the accelerometers are too powerful, like they're not tuned properly, so you get a burst of energy at the beginning before it connects to something else there, right? So, and then you just get random locks, and then it just continues again, right?
Nice.
Like these ideas are basically this is the primary principle that makes an animated robot possible.
Okay. NPC.
NPC.
Is that animation?
No.
Why is it not animation?
Because just like a robot, it is a character-based form that is limited by its mechanical rule set. It's just a digital rule set as opposed to a analog one. So whereas a robot is realistically like hydraulics or like gears, weight, right? Feeling all of this weight is what creates the rule set. For NPC, everything is digital. So it's all renders of things that use some kind of like like an armature to hold all of the renders together, and then it effectively just shows them like at you. That doesn't necessarily mean that's how it functions. Because there's no physical space. So when you reach for your sword in Breath of the Wild, and Link pulls out his sword, you can't actually do that to scale. The sword of that size
doesn't.
The scabbard.
I think I saw something stuck.
Yeah, there's a video right now that's pretty popular on social media within nerd cultures, where they can't actually pull the sword out,
right?
Because of the design and the leverage of the arm, you can't actually get it out of there, right? They're all facsimiles. It's just a digital. It's an attempt to look human that isn't, and the principle is the same.
The principle, it's not about
It's the character base, and then it shows what rule set that you're using, which is exactly the same as what robot does. But just like when robot becomes animation by incorporating glitches, NPC is the same. Once you connect glitches, animation, to the NPC, then it becomes animation, right? Okay. So NPC it's closely related to the robot character. NPC by itself is not animation. Once you animate it, it becomes animation. Once you start playing with the principles of the illusions of time within that specific character and that rule set, that is how you get an animated NPC.
Got it.
Because, not to get too meta on the words, but an animation can also mean like a drawn thing, right? So it's a little redundant to say an animated NPC.
Right, because it's already an animation.
Because it's already an animation. Yes. So we have to be able to distinguish between animation of the hand-drawn variety and animation of the dance technique, right? Like being able to do like all this stuff.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then again, if you are acting like some creature that can go into character, that can go into more being weird, all right, I feel like there's a lot of clarity, I would say, from the way you've broken down animation, the dancing with the manipulation of time, the music, why robot, the similarities, but then still robot is not animation until this manipulation of time takes place. Glitches can show that manipulation.
Right.
All right. We're going to go to